It's Luther Wilson III on another YouTube video session representing for Upside Property Services as a real estate pro here in the Kansas City market. All right, so if you've been tracking, you kind of have an idea of what I'm about. Real estate investments, real estate sales, funding and financing for real estate investors is what I've been working on a lot lately. And in today's session, I want to talk about one of my bread and butters. My main bread and butter is seller financing. I want to get into some of the details and talk about our main weapon, bringing out the big guns today, talking about the contract for deed, okay? That has been our go-to, that's been our number one transaction or type of creative real estate transaction that we've utilized over the last several years. And I want to dig in a little bit more because I think it's going to help some people. A lot of investors out there are, trying to figure out what's the move. And, I can't talk about seller financing or contract for deeds without first mentioning the three main aspects that I see in real estate investing. You got capital, you got strategy, and you got operations. Okay, so for seller financing, I would put that in the strategy category, okay? What we've done a lot is referred to as contract for deeds. It can also be referred to as a land contract, and depending on where you are geographically, some people refer to it as an agreement for sale, okay? And so, gosh, my pops and my moms have been doing real estate in one way or another for the last 30 plus years, and I've learned so much from them. And that's my father's who I learned a lot of the creative real estate stuff from, and real estate operations and all that stuff as well. And I think it was 1989, Dad, when you did your first creative? 1990. My dad did his first real estate transaction, I think probably his first creative real estate transaction in 1990. And I did my first one in 2009. And since then, we've combined, have done hundreds of transactions for a number of investors. And me personally, it really started to pick up the last 4 or 5 years as I've started to do more investing on my own with partners, of course, and then expanding my real estate brokerage. Over the last 5 years, I've been able to help a dozen investors with some type of seller finance transaction. And we've seen amazing results. And so I want to share that with more people. So I'm bringing, again, out the big guns for those that want to know more about what we do and how we operate. Here we go. So a big thing with creative financing and seller finance transactions, and disclaimer, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a financial advisor. This stuff, has to be structured and handled a certain way. So please advise, talk with your people, whoever your advisors are, whoever you consult with, talk to them about what this is, how you might be able to implement it in your business, okay? So again, contract for deed, and this is great for those tired landlords and those exhausted house flippers, all right? So I know for me and most of my clients, when we think about, why we got into real estate or why we got into real estate investing, of course we want to create profits, we want to create cash flow, we want to create equity, large amounts of capital, however that looks, and we get into it not really knowing what it's going to be like. And, so once you're in it, then you start to see like, all right, there's a number of moving parts. The two of the biggest pain points that I have to bring up once again, it has to deal with property management and it has to deal with construction. And so I bring that up because you can utilize the creative financing techniques or strategies, whatever you want to call it, to help relieve some of those pain points, to help free you up, okay? And so when it comes to the contract for deed, I'm gonna go through real quick the 8 or 9, actually it could be 7 to 9 different documents that you could use, ones that we use for our contract for deeds. So you can literally copy this if you wanted to, in fact, I had a fellow real estate broker reach out to me last week, and she asked about a template for a contract for deed. So I emailed her the template along with a sample copy of one that I did recently so she could see exactly how we do it. So it's critical, all right? So once you've decided that this is something that you want to do, and you've talked to an attorney, or you've talked to a title company, or you've talked with a CPA advisor, however that looks, you decide you want to go forward with it. It's critical to not only structure these a certain way, but they have to be handled a certain way. So the focus for today's session is going to be on how we structure our contract for deeds. In past videos, I've talked about how they can be handled or how we handle them. And then I've also talked about the 3 scary Ds, okay? So that's one other thing, 3 other things that you want to be mindful of. And I'll end up putting a link in the description on the YouTube, I'll put a link to that video. There's 3 scary Ds: Dodd-Frank, due on sale, and default situation. So you can refer to that as well. Okay, so the documents, the 7 to 9 different documents that we use on our contract for deeds. The first one, of course, is the contract for deed. The second one is a seller finance disclosure. The third one is an as-is addendum, okay? The fourth one is going to be a lead-based paint disclosure addendum if the property was built prior to 1978, okay? The fifth one is going to be there's going to be a affidavit of equitable interest, okay? Number 6, we want to have a quitclaim deed in there as well, okay? Number 7, you got to have the warranty deed or the general warranty deed in there. Number 8 is the settlement statement. And number 9 is the amortization schedule. So I'm not going to get into all the details on each individual one, but that's it. So those are the forms that we use. Okay, again, we're here in the Kansas City market, so those are great. Those have been fantastic for Kansas and Missouri. So if you want to know more, just send me a message, hit me up, reach out to me. I think for a number of reasons, what's been happening in the market with interest rates and inventory and the cost of things, more people have been looking at and utilizing seller financing, and contract for deed has been absolutely amazing for us. However, they again have to be structured and handled a certain way. So if I have a client that reaches out and they want me to either help them facilitate a seller finance transaction, or they want me to bring them a buyer. So in that case, I would be marketing for the buyer, collaborating with my team, and also facilitating. I need to make sure that there's a number of things. One big thing is the underlying debt, okay? So that needs to be clean, all right? Another big thing is the documentation, the disclosures. All of those disclosures in there is critical for a number of reasons, all right? So the disclosures is huge, okay? The underlying debt is huge. And then also, if you have, a lot of times an investor will reach out to me or someone close to me and they, want to do seller financing. If they've owned the property for a while and they don't have an underlying mortgage, they don't have any debt on it, then it makes it so much cleaner and smoother. But if there is a mortgage underneath or in first lien position, then you gotta, determine or gotta look into things and figure out how much time is left. Is there a balloon? Is it, interest only? And then, figure out the escrow in there as well. Those are all key factors that we look at, okay? And if you're concerned about the validity, the legality, the disclosures and so forth, you could definitely reach out to me, but definitely consult with whoever you feel you need to consult with, and also reach out to a lender. If you're concerned, read the documents, okay, as the mortgage documents, okay, and see what they say, and go over them with someone, okay, because there's certain things that you just have to be mindful of. All right, so I covered a number of things. The documentation is huge. Okay, so yeah, definitely. So depending on the property, by the way, these have been really good for single family homes. You can do them for smaller multiplexes. We've done them on duplexes before, but it's a little more challenging to do them on multiplexes. But single family homes, okay, because of one of the scary Ds that I mentioned earlier that you're going to want to be mindful of, Dodd-Frank, you could do 3 in a calendar year. You could do 3 of these in a 365 day period, right? And after that, if you're going to do more, you may want to look at getting plugged in with an RMLO, residential mortgage loan originator, okay? If you're planning to do more than 3, look at that. And then you also might want to look at lease options, which is a whole other story that I think I did a video, or I mentioned lease options on one of the seller finance videos that I did before. So that's another key part, is depending on your operation, depending on your investment business, how many of these you plan on doing, you got to be mindful, because with this, you're talking about not only the investment strategy, but you're dealing with the mortgage, and then you're dealing with the property and a number of other things. So these have to be handled a certain way. All right. So I think I covered almost everything that I wanted to cover. Again, reach out. Upside Property Services. This is like one of the main things that I do as a real estate practitioner now. For my own investments, I got a handful of these going, and I work with other investors who are looking to do a similar type of thing. And I'll tell you what, as far as being able to have investment properties, own investment properties, and create more revenue or more cash flow from them while freeing up or buying back some of your time, this has just been an amazing way to do it, okay? So again, contract for deeds, also known as land contract, also referred to in some cases as an agreement for sale. This has been our big gun. And so have at it, okay? Dig in there, talk to some advisors, talk to some other investors, hit me up if you definitely, if you want to know more. I would be happy to get you plugged in with some of my clients and my partners who have been part of this thing. Again, so, that's all I got for today. So stay tuned till next time. Have a good one. Peace.